Good morning, dear students. Today in this video you are going to see about the list in Pythons, and in this chapter you are going to learn about creating and accessing list operations, working with lists, list functions and methods. So we will start first what is list and how it will be created. So what is list? Everything I taught in the class, online classes, and when you will see the video, you will be having a vast knowledge about the list. So, list is a collection of values or an ordered sequence of values or items. It is the collection of values. The values that make up a list are called its element. Whatever value you will be taking for creating the list are termed as elements. Lists are heterogeneous, that is, the items in a list can be of any type, such as string, integers, float, or even a list. Whatever item you will be storing into the list, the items can be of any data type. It can be of a string type, it can be of integer, it can be a float, or it can even be a list. So the value or the item of the list can be of any type. Next is elements of a list are enclosed in square bracket. The elements which you are going to place should be inside the square bracket separated by commas. And very important about the list is lists are mutable. That is, the value in the list can be modified, which means that Python is not going to create a new list when we make changes to an element of a list. Whatever updation you need in a list, whatever changes you want to do in a list with the element, you can do so because the nature of the list are mutable. It can be modified, the values or the items can be changed in a list. This is regarding the list. Some example of list are, see, under the square bracket nothing is mentioned. As I told you, the item of a list can contain within the square bracket. So square bracket is placed but nothing is given inside the square bracket, so it is an example of empty list. The second example shows there are 4 elements 1, 2, 4, 6 under the square bracket separated by comma, and the values which are stored, the item which are stored is of integer type, so it is a list of integer. Next example is 10, 4.5, 3, 8.9 contained inside the square bracket, enclosed inside the square bracket is an example of list, and this is the list of integer value as well as the float, because the values are of integer type as well as the float type, so it is the list of integer as well as float. Next, ABC, the characters enclosed under the quotes and then again enclosed under the square bracket is an example of list of characters because single characters are enclosed under the quotes. Here the next example, hello Ravi 0 under the square brackets, under the quotes, set of characters, so it is an example of list of strings. A 1.5 134, it is a character, float, string, integer is a example of list of mixed value type. Values are mixed, one is character, float, string, integer. These are the various examples of lists. Next we will see how to declare or create or initialize the list. It is very important. If you are going to create a list, you should know the syntax very first, and according to the syntax, according to the format, you have to create the list. And the syntax is, you will write the list name first of all. This is the format. After equal to, under the square bracket, you will provide the values. Value can be known as the item, and that value can be of any type which we have seen just now. Or if you want to create the empty list, then you will write the list name equal to, under the square bracket, no value. So this is the syntax. We will see the example. For example, subjects is the name of the list, as according to the format. When you will see, the very first thing what is written is the variable name, or you can say the list name, equal to, under the square bracket, the values are given, like physics, chemistry, maths, accountancy, computer. This is the long list, example of the long list. It is a sequence identified by the square brackets. Sequence of values, one after another, the items are stored in a list inside the memory. Or the first example is the syntax for the first one, and the second example shows the second, that is about the empty list, and it is same. Subject is equal to square bracket opening closing, no value provided. It is an example of empty list. So in this way you will create the list. Subject is equal to physics, chemistry, maths, accountancy, computer. This is simply an example of string type of data is there. So it is a list is of string data type. It can be integer, it can be float, it can be character, it can be mixed type of value can also be stored in a list. Next is the nested list. Nested list, a list can have an element in it which itself is a list. A list, when the element of a list is again a list, the item of the list, if itself is a list, is known as the nested list. For example, 11 is the name of the list, and 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, whereas 30 and 40 again is a list sequence, you can say like that. So 10, 20, then 30, 40, 50 is an example of nested list, because here the item of the list 30 and 40 is again it, or you can say itself is a list, itself is a sequence. To declare or create the list, we can use the built-in function list also. List bracket opening closing is a function, built-in function for creating the list. As you can see in the previous examples, square brackets, under the square brackets if the value contained is an example of list. Here you can use the method also, and the syntax for using this very method is name of the list L equal to, you will write list in small letter, under the bracket of the list or under the parenthesis of the function you will provide the argument as sequence or the string. Either you provide the sequence under the square bracket or direct string you can also write for creating the list. For example, first is L equal to list welcome. The list element is a string. WELCOM, it is an example of the string, within quotes it is placed, and through this method, through this command, the welcome is going to create as a list item. So using list function you can create the list of string type. L equal to list 3.459. See here the difference between these two statements is one without this square bracket, the second one is with the help of square bracket. So the first one example of the list is here is a form of a string we have provided, and the second example is a sequence. So either you provide the string direct or the sequences. The sequences will be identified by the square bracket. So here 3.45, 9 are the item of the list, which is actually we have provided the argument with the help of sequence. With the help of input method, with the help of input method, which is known as a keyboard input, using list function or using list method, list can also be created. We had seen the first example that the list can be created with the help of sequence. Second, we have seen the list can be created with the list function. Third, we are going to see using the input method with the help of list function, the list can also be created. Example 1, you can see here L equal to list, then input, enter the element. This is the example of to create the list through the keyboard input using the input method. Keyboard input means the user will enter the value when he or she executes the program or run the program. At the time of execution of the program, the value will be provided. But in earlier cases, we are simply initializing the value. We are not taking the value by the help of keyboard. But in this example, using input method, using list, we are taking the value by the help of user through the keyboard. So the statement is, you will write L equal to list, input, enter the element. As soon as you will input, you will write this very statement, the system will ask to enter the elements. So enter the elements, what you have provided here, that has come. You have entered the value 45, and then after print L, and then you will get the result 4, 5. So 4, 5 you have given as an integer value, but in the output you can see the output or the result has come. The value or the item which you have entered is treated as the string, and the result is showing you as a string. So 4 and 5 treated as the string contained inside the square bracket. So when you will use the list function, then what you will enter, whether it is a string or the number, it will be treated as a string in the output or in the result. This is the example 1. Example 2, we will see list, input, enter the elements. So enter the elements. Country I have entered, the user has entered the country. Print L, then the output has come as what you have entered, the string. All these strings are now separated as a characters, and all the characters enclosed under the quotes. This is the result. So one string you have entered, and that string is now given you as the output of the separated characters. So the sequences are, or the list results are, the individual characters is separated by the help of comma. This is the second example of the list. Third example is, if we are going to create the empty list, then what we will write? L equal to list, and nothing we will provide. We will write simply list, bracket opening and closing. And when you will take print L, then you will get empty square bracket. Means the output of the empty list is empty only. No elements are there in the result. So this is how we will declare, create or initialize the list. Next way, the next method is for creating the list is using the eval function. Okay, so this is very important. So first you see what is eval. So using eval function, keyboard input is accepted as integers. When you will use the eval function, what you will input through the keyboard using the input function, it will be treated or accepted as the integers, because what we enter using the input method and list function, all the inputs are treated as strings. As you can see in previous slides, that we have taken the value as integer, then also it will be treated as a string. We have provided an integer value, then also it is treated as a string. But in the eval, using eval function, the integer value what we will enter will be treated as integer only. It is not going to convert into strings. So this is the purpose of using the eval function. So eval function take the value from the user as integer. This is a very important thing. That is why it is highlighted in different color. Now see the difference in the result. You can see the differences in the result. I have taken the example here. One is with the help of eval, using input. Second example is with the help of list input. So the result that will become that you need to focus it. Example is L equal to eval input, enter the element of the list. So what we will specify under the input method, that will come in the screen, enter the element of the list, and we have entered the value of list item as 45, 8, 6, 12 and print L, then you will get the result 45, 8, 6, 12 in the form of tuple. Tuple is recognized by, identified by this small bracket opening closing. Okay, so what you have entered, the result is come in that way only. Integer value you have entered, integer value you have got as an output. But in this very example where you have used the list, when you have entered the 45, you have got the value as 4, 5 in the form of string. Okay, if you will write after the comma also, if you will write another value, that comma will also be treated as the character value. So 4, 5, whatever elements you will enter using list, that using input function with the help of list, then it will be treated as string. Even if integer value you are going to enter, it will be treated as string. So this I wanted to tell you in today's class. Next video we will see how to access the element and the different list operations. Thank you so much. Next video I am going to upload very soon. Thank you so much.